Thank you for joining us for this session. My name is Rahul Gupta, and I'm a PM in the Windows Servicing and Delivery organization. Yesterday, you might have heard Carlos and Raji announce a new app validation service called Update Staging Lab. Today in this session, I'll take you through the service details, including a service demo and how you can exactly benefit from it. Right? Let us start with the importance of app validation. In all of our customer feedback, in all of our customer conversations, the feedback is near universal. Enterprises and customers are still blocked from wide deployment of their Windows updates because of lack of support statements from ISVs. It's also well known that you wish Microsoft would work more closely with these ISVs to provide evergreen support. Now, evergreen support means that you have full confidence that the application would work well until and unless you're told there's something wrong with the application experience. It's also well known that in the absence of ISVs providing these support statements, you as customers, as enterprises, have taken on more and more of the burden of testing. You simply cannot wait for the ISVs to provide these support statements for you. From an ISV perspective, there is a whole lot of different types of testing that they undertake. And it's not just compatibility testing. It includes functional testing, performance testing, security testing to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities within the app, as well as usability testing. The different types of testing, along with the different form factors and devices, creates an ever-growing test matrix that an ISV needs to validate against. Besides this, there are three key reasons why validation from ISVs is difficult. The first one is around test lab management. So deployment, configuration, and management of a test lab in itself is quite cumbersome. Also, the adoption of pre-release updates is quite inconsistent. Not a lot of the ISVs tend to deploy Windows Insider builds in their test lab environment, and the availability of pre-release security updates is minimal at best. Now, what this actually leads to is the fact that their validation and testing happens much closer to when the Windows update is released. And so the time that they have to provide any failure support in case the experience goes bad for the end customer is actually quite short. In order to solve for these specific problems, yesterday we announced the service which is Update Staging Lab. Now, Update Staging Lab is a new validation service for ISVs to test collaboratively with Microsoft. The way it works is that an ISV onboards onto USL. Our environment is connected to the Windows build pipeline. As a result, we get access to the pre-release Windows security updates 3 to 4 weeks before they're actually released into the market. We're starting off with Windows security updates. Pretty soon, we'll have support for feature updates as well. And so as you can see, when an ISV onboards onto USL, it automatically becomes a part of our environment, which is kept up to date with the latest updates. Anytime there is a new build available in our pipeline, or if there's a new application from an ISV, it automatically triggers the tests to execute. Then an ISV can log in to an Azure dashboard, and I'll take you through the dashboard in a few moments in the demo. And they can look at what the test results are, including a bunch of insights and analytics on the application as well. Now, why is this important? Because of the fact that we're actually testing in a joint collaborative environment, and we are testing with pre-release security updates, Microsoft and ISV has the time and the focus to be able to jointly remediate in case there's something that's an issue. Now, these are the sort of issues that ultimately bother you as the end user of the application. And those are the sort of issues that we are trying to find much quicker and remediate much quicker with pre-release security updates. With Update Staging Lab, ISVs will now have a new, simplified, more efficient validation environment where Microsoft and ISVs jointly test and remediate. And this is the key benefit. This is the key benefit of Update Staging Lab. The fact that Microsoft and ISVs are jointly testing together with pre-release updates. Enterprises benefit from this joint collaboration. Essentially, it empowers the ISV to provide evergreen support for their application. Also, issues are remedied and caught much before, since we're testing against pre-release updates. earlier, if there was something wrong with the application, Microsoft and ISV would need to collaborate and try and figure out if the update, if the changes need to happen either on the Windows update or on the application side. What USL does is builds in this collaboration right from the start. So Microsofts and ISVs are actually testing much earlier in the entire process. We'll publish a list of ISVs that are collaboratively testing with us on Update Staging Lab. Even before the announcement yesterday, we are working with about 20 ISVs. The applications are being tested in our service, and they're getting results. Here are a few of these ISVs that have been listed out here. And it's not just with external customers. We are engaged with internal customers at Microsoft, including the App Compat team and other teams as well. Our goal is to be the de facto testing environment at Microsoft as well. Now, the goal of providing this list is that enterprises or end users will have a lot more confidence signal on the applications that are being tested with USL, as well as unblock them from adopting Windows updates much quicker. Let's have a look at the service and jump into a quick demo. Okay. So for the purposes of this demo, let us step into the shoes of a Contoso ISV. And so they would log into their Azure dashboard using their Azure Active Directory login. So this is their overview page. As you can see, it provides some details about what the service is. As we go through the demo, there are 3 key pieces I wanted to highlight. The test summary and the test results that we'll see is with pre-release security updates. So typically, ISVs are going to start seeing these results about 3 to 4 weeks before an update is actually released out. That's the first piece. The second key piece is that we make it front and center what the validation status of their app is. So as you go through it, the first piece of summary that you get is how is your application performing with pre-release security updates. So an ISV has that information front and center. And the third key piece I want to highlight is we're not just providing test results, but a bunch of analytics which is useful for an ISV as well. Okay? Let's keep those 3 things in mind and show you how an ISV would navigate. So let me click on summary. So as you can see, the Contoso ISV has uploaded 5 applications on USL. You can see the test status of the first 4. The status is either success or failure. And the 5th one, testing is still in progress. As we click on, say, Contoso AV 1.2, you can see the test results, failure or success, is against 11B security updates. That's a November update, which is due to come out on the 12th of November. And we're able to see the results much earlier. And the build was available to us on November 3rd. This is the latest build that we have. We had received multiple builds in the month of October as well. So you'll see results much earlier. And as you can see, no issues with some of the other applications, Contoso AV 1.2, Endpoint Protector, everything seems to be working fine, except Contoso AV 1.2 seems to have a failure with the Windows 10 1909 version. Now again, that goes back to our second highlighted area, where an ISV can log in and say, OK, great, I think there's something wrong with the application compatibility with a specific version of Windows with pre-release November updates, right? So let's dig deeper and see what the issue is. Let's click on See Details. Just a quick note right at the top, an ISV can use the drop-downs and flip through multiple applications, OS versions, multiple releases, going back all the way up to January in this case, and then multiple build revisions that might be available for that specific security update. So the different signals that you can see here essentially is as we execute the scripts, the tests for an ISV application, we are capturing multiple signals. And based on the signals, we are able to actually tell an ISV if there's a problem with the validation or not. So it seems in this case, let me point out here, there's a problem with the reliability signal, and it's failing. And that's why the application status seems to be failing. Let me click on See Details. Now, what the reliability signal does is provide crashes and hang data for each of the executables for the ISV. And so as we can see, Contoso service.exe seems to be failing at a much higher rate with this November update with a pre-release November update as opposed to a stable October update that had come out before. Now, these are the sort of issues that bother you, right? If the ISV application is failing, crashing at a much higher rate with a new update from Microsoft, that's going to be a bad end experience for you. And that's the sort of problem that ISV and Microsoft both care about as well. And that's why, ultimately, we are getting a failure back on the summary page. Beyond just the test results, we also provide memory and CPU utilization. So an ISV can see during the course of when the scripts continue to execute from a certain time to an end time, what is essentially the memory that is utilized on that machine. Also, it's important to contrast that with similar to what we had done before, using an October update. So what does it look like with a pre-release security update as opposed to what it does with an already released update? Again, if there's anything wrong, for example, with the reliability signal, and the ISV needs to debug, root cause, get more information, there is an opportunity for the ISV to click on the download log files link, and the log file essentially would be downloaded on their machine so that they can go ahead and dig deeper. Right? Let's quickly look back and summarize the scenario that we had in mind. We logged in as a Contoso ISV. We noticed that the ISV had shared specific applications. The first thing that we saw was what is the status of that application with pre-release security updates. So highlighted area number 1 and 2, pre-release security update, and we get to know the health status right up front. And then as we dig deeper, we are able to look at why exactly is an application failing, and not just the test results. If I go in reliability, the ISV is also able to look at memory and CPU utilization. Additionally, beyond just this analytics, we are working on providing dynamic API analysis as well, which again adds much more potency into the insights that we can provide back to an ISV. Okay. Let me switch back to the slide deck. And I want to talk about something that's a little more futuristic. Now, UI-based automation testing is something that's extremely important for ISVs. And as the test matrix keeps growing, the one that we had spoken about before that an ISV is required to validate against, the problem is that without automated testing, you can't actually exhaust those use cases. As a result, what we're doing is prototyping with a new technology called robotic process automation. What this does is when we integrate this into our USL service, these Azure VMs spawn up, the bots, additional bots are created on those Azure VMs, and we can focus those bots on very specific applications. So let me show you what it looks like. Here are 4 applications: Windows settings, store, people, and edge. Now what the bots are doing, if you start one by one, is the bot is creating different tiles within the Windows settings application. With store, the bot is searching for specific applications and installing it. With people application, again, the bots are creating and deleting specific contacts. And with the edge application, the bot is hitting specific URLs and then navigating within it. Now, what adds to the entire potency here is if you think about dynamic API analysis along with RPA. So with dynamic API analysis, we know exactly what is churned with the latest security updates or with the latest updates in itself. So what part of that code has actually churned, and what part of that churn code was being used by a specific application. Now that's where the majority of the risk is. And what we can do with RPA is just focus those bots on just those specific high-risk areas. And so the kind of insights that we can get from it is extremely, extremely detailed. Also, what it helps us do is perform more targeted testing, as well as reduce the time and effort and cost that's required to find us, for us to find specific vulnerabilities. Let's talk a little bit about the product roadmap. As I mentioned to you at the start, we are starting off with security updates. Pretty soon, we'll have support for Windows feature updates. We're also looking to expand the service beyond just Windows updates to include support for other Microsoft updates, example, browser and Office. And we're also looking to expand the audience beyond just ISVs to include system integrators and enterprises. And we want to support enterprise-specific line of business applications, virtualized applications, and environment-specific applications. Now, we've been talking to ISVs, system integrators, and enterprises over the past many months. And this roadmap continues to evolve based on your feedback. And so please let us know what your inputs, comments, and concerns are so that we're continuously optimizing the service based on your business needs. Right? And it gives us immense pride and pleasure in announcing that Update Staging Lab is now in private preview. Essentially, you can nominate the ISV that you would like to work with on USL, or if you're an ISV, you can sign up directly. The link to the form is aka.ms/joinusl. It also has a link to the blog where you can get more details as to some of the points that I had covered in this session today. If you have additional questions, comments, please feel free to reach out to us as a team to uslpreview@microsoft.com or to me personally at rahul.rg@microsoft.com. Now, our end goal with Update Staging Lab is to provide a much better collaborative testing environment with ISVs so that we can test against pre-release updates much earlier and ensure that the end user application experience is extremely, extremely good. Also, our goal is to provide confidence signals back to end users of these applications because of the fact that we're testing much earlier in a much more detailed manner, as well as unblock enterprises and customers from adopting Windows updates much earlier. A couple of quick points about some of the upcoming sessions. Highly encourage you to attend the next one on delivery optimization at 2 p.m. from my colleague, Narkis. Would also highly recommend you look at our learning track on Thursday, deploying, managing, and servicing Windows and Office. Be sure to drop by our booth, which is close to number 29. It's on Windows 10 Simplified, Deploy, and Stay Current. And please feel free to collect. We have some NinjaCat stickers so that you can go back to the booth for one of the best giveaways at Ignite. Lastly, please make sure that you are evaluating this session. Would love to hear feedback from you. We have engineering and PM resources here, so in case you have any questions, please feel free to find us. We'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Okay? Thank you.